What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with some Raid Shadow Legends, and we're going to be going back into the Doom Tower and taking on the Celestial Griffin today. This is going to be hard floor 90 on rotation 2 of the Doom Tower, and we're going to try something a little different with this video, something a little new. We are going to just put up screenshots of each champion that we are using in the team, and I'm also going to throw up a shot of my Great Hall here so you guys can kind of get an idea how these champions are built. And that way we don't have to jump in after the video is over and go through all the champions in depth, and hopefully we'll save a little bit of time, because what I'm noticing is people tend to watch more often if the videos are a little bit shorter. So that's going to be the goal with the video today. Now we're going to go into Celestial Griffin here, which can be one of the more difficult hard Doom Tower bosses, just based on all of the different things that this boss can do. This boss can fear you. This boss can transfer all the debuffs that you put on it back to you and then attack you, filling its turn meter for every debuff that it transfers. It can remove all of your buffs, then attack you. You cannot resist this buff removal at all, and it increases its damage by 10% for every buff that it takes off. It also attacks you with an extra attack anytime your HP drops below 50%. And then it does have this Skybond buff on itself, which is really tough to deal with. It's one of the biggest problems with this boss, where as those buffs build up, its damage ramps up. It ignores your shields, your block damage, and ignores your unkillable, and it can stack up to 20 times. It gets really tough to deal with this boss once those stacks start to get out of control. And there also is a tough time here with the turn meter, because anytime you decrease the turn meter, your own turn meter will get decreased, and then if your turn meter is at 0, you will get stunned every single time. So turn meter fill also not very helpful against this boss, because it's going to fill its turn meter as you fill yours. So that's kind of the rundown of what this boss does. It gets very difficult at the higher stages of hard and 90 and 110 to deal with some of this stuff. And I usually say if you're at 10 stacks of Skybond before you get the boss to half HP, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to have a lot of a difficult time here getting the boss down. This team we're seeing right here is my basic team that I've pretty much always used on this boss. It's Jareg in the lead, it's Drexthar Blood Twin, Syl the Drakes, Underpriest Brogni, and Mountain King. Now I know Drexthar and Mountain King are both negative affinity here, but this has mainly been used against the magic version of this in rotation 3, and they've never had a problem beating the spirit one either. I've kind of just used this team since I made it, and they've never really had an issue with it, so I haven't felt a need to change it, although I do run a team in this video later on that does get this done much faster, bringing in some newer champions that I've gotten since this video. But basically what you want to do on this is you're going to come in, you're going to need people that do a lot of damage very quickly without a lot of debuffs. You're also going to want someone that can kind of keep a consistent decreased defense up on this boss if possible. And you're going to need a lot of healing and possibly some cleansing. One of the reasons Syl of the Drakes is so good on this boss is because she heals the team every time she takes a turn. Our Syl of the Drakes is in Relentless. You can see she did 1.2 million healing during this battle. It's very helpful. She keeps that going. We're going to jump into another team here. This is the faster team that I did find, which brings in Venus and Riho Bone Spear and Ninja, who unfortunately, if you don't have him, Ninja is probably the best damage dealer for this boss because he can ramp up his own attacks. We have him in a Relentless set for this, and he's just able to cycle through his attacks so quickly, builds up a ton of damage, and we're able to take out the Griffin before he builds up a lot of stacks of that Skybond, because once he gets those Skybond buffs going, your team just dies very, very quickly, and once you get below 50% health, you take a ton of extra damage from him. So it's very difficult if you don't have champions that can really take this guy out quickly. And Ninja, honestly, to me, is like one of the best DPS characters to use on this boss for taking him out quickly. Brogni is also very good on the Celestial Griffin because his shield buff cannot be removed. You see that little yellow box around it? That means that the buff cannot be taken away whenever the Griffin uses that ability. So we're able to keep the shields up with Brogni, which gives us a little bit of extra survivability. Obviously, once those Skybonds start stacking, it's going to ignore that shield, which can be very tough to deal with. But Brogni is an MVP here. Hopefully you fused him. If not, again, this is hard Doom Tower. You're going to need certain champions. You're going to need decent gear to get through this. So that's kind of why when you see these showcases, we're using specific legendary champions. Now, I don't have a lot of budget options for this because I am not a super big expert on hard Doom Tower. I just kind of use what works. on my account. Soda Dragon has some really good videos for getting through these with budget options, so I'll point you over to his channel for that. He's also got an excellent team that just uses Jareg and Silva Drakes to get through this boss with just 2 champions, even on the hard mode, so I'll link to that as well down below in the first pinned comment, so you guys can go check that out. Now, I was trying to go a little bit more low budget here. We did bring in Ragnar Goldgleam and Doom Priest, 2 pretty common epics. Ragnar was you were able to get him at a fusion. He is a void dwarf that does hit pretty hard. But again, we got Ninja here, and Ninja's going to help us get this boss down really quickly before he can start building up any of those sky bonds. Now, Doom Priest is here because along with Syl the Drakes, it's extra passive healing that's going to build up every single turn and hopefully keep us from going below 50%, although you do see that Ragnar doesn't die there, so we'll go ahead and pick him up. It's handy that she has that res in case we do need it, but we're going to go with all this passive healing to try to keep ourselves above 50%, so we're not taking double the hits. Vrask is another decent option here. You can run him in Retaliation or Relentless gear, so he's constantly hitting and healing your team. I've got a pretty solid Vrask that I have used on this boss before, who can basically heal the entire team for about 13,000 HP every time he attacks, so that's one other option you can use. This was another team here. I was trying to figure out an option for replacing Ninja, which unfortunately there aren't many, so we brought in Draco, who can put out a lot of damage. Now, his poisons here are pretty much useless because this boss basically ignores 90% of the damage from poisons, but Draco hits very hard. I also have my Draco in Relentless gear, so he can take some extra attacks. And again, we got Doom Priest in here. We brought in Duchess, who actually will help us out with the damage we take because she does have that really good passive against the AoE damage. Coming in from the Griffin, so anything you can do to mitigate that damage, anything you can do to do a lot of damage to this boss, and anything you can do to get the decreased defense up and heal yourself as well. You got to stay above 50%. You've got to get this boss down quickly, especially at the later stages on floor 90 and floor 110, because once those Skybond buffs are going, it gets really, really hard to take him down. And again, we had Jareg earlier in here. He's really good here as well because he can keep that attack down to buff or debuff on there. As long as you can keep that up a little bit, it can help you mitigate some of that damage. But it's just kind of a look here at some of the different teams I kind of cobbled together for this video. The concepts are pretty much the same, so if you have pretty decent gear, you may be able to substitute some other champions in that do the same things. Again, you want to decrease defense and to weaken if you can get it. That's why Draco's really good here. He does both of those. Ragnar Goldgleam does the same. Lydia does that. So anybody you could use that brings a lot of that into the table. And again, you want to keep an eye on how many debuffs you're putting out on this boss, how many buffs you're putting on yourself. You want to try to keep that to a minimum so you're not getting punished when that boss puts the debuffs back on you or rips them off, rips your own buffs off, because it can get really tough to deal with when you get to that stage. Anyways, guys, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you guys have found this helpful for getting through the hard Doom Tower Griffin boss. If you guys have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comments. I'll do my best to get you an answer as soon as I can. As always, I hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you again next time.